Hello and welcome to GatherVerse Europe Tech for Humanity Summit, Day 1. And my name is Russell. I am the Global Affairs Director at GatherVerse. And I'm very, very happy about this event today. And so far, over the last 4 weeks, we have traveled around multiple continents from Africa, Asia, Middle East, North America, and now, of course, the EU. There's going to be a lot of discussions happening today, including lots of discussions around AI, technology, etc. But we're also going to talk about where Europe stands at the forefront of regulation and responsibility with the EU AI Act, with the transparency and the ethical oversight that is going on within the EU right now. But beyond regulation, we're also going to take a look at how Europe, what is the future of Europe? The responsibility, the inclusivity, the shared accountability. How are we going to take the next steps within Europe when it comes to the EU? There's going to be a lot of discussions, a lot of roundtables, and also lots of fireside chats with myself, Lynn, and the GatherVerse team here at GatherVerse. So I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for joining us, for also watching live at GatherVerse.live and all the social media platforms that we have as well. And also coming up next, we have our very first roundtable with myself, and we're going to be talking about the leading safely and sustainably, responsibly in the face of shared survival. So I think that is the end of the introduction. So what we're going to do is we're going to go straight into first roundtable discussion, and stay with us because we have lots of discussions where you can learn, get involved in, and also have fun, of course. May I gather, be well. Okay, it's great to be back, and welcome all panelists. Please, if everyone could mute their microphones, just so that we can have no feedback or any sort of responsible things coming in or whatever. We get all different noises sometimes when we do this roundtable discussion. So for this roundtable discussion, we're going to be talking about leading safely and sustainably, responsibility in the face of shared survival. And with us today, we have, lots of panelists here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 panelists with us today. So I'm very excited to have this discussion. So what we're going to do, panelists, is we're going to do a 30-second to 60-second introduction from each of yourselves. And then what we'll then do after that is we will then get into the questions, and then we'll begin the discussion. So we'll start with Sule, then we'll go to Noel, and then we'll go to Chantal, and then we'll go through everybody after that. So do you want to start us off?
Yes. Okay, let me begin. Hello from Istanbul. Actually, as you know, Turkey is not a member of the European Union, but we are very close and having the most connections in terms of trade. So, I mean, Turkey and European Union is very much intertwined in many ways. So I am the first AI writer in Turkey. I have a column of 9 years. And now I'm a consultant speaker, and just recently the founder of an initiative called the Human-Centric AI Lab. So this is shortly about me.
Thank you for joining us. And it is Soleil, right?
Schule.
Schule. Okay, thank you.
It's like a Schule in English, or Schule in German, school.
Oh, I like that. Okay, great name. Schule. Thank you for joining us. Noel. No. Oh, I always forget the. Do you know what? I do apologize, panelists. If I get your name wrong, just please correct me, because I am terrible with names. I'm not gonna lie. I am terrible. So, Noel. Yeah, did you want to unmute your microphone and please introduce yourself to us? You have to unmute your microphone. Let me see if I can unmute your microphone. There we go. Oh, I can't unmute your microphone for some reason. Do you want to quickly unmute your microphone? Is the microphone down at the bottom? Just press that and it'll no. Okay, we'll go to Chantal and then we'll come back. Oh, there you go. See, it's unmuted now. You're good. No, we still can't hear you. We still can't hear you. I don't know if it's the microphone. I don't know if there's some settings. We'll come back to you. Chantal, please introduce yourself.
Good evening to the Southern Hemisphere people. Good morning to you guys out in the States. My name is Chantal Buerta. I'm an identity architect from South Africa, currently traveling the world. I'm based in Mauritius at the moment. What I do is I build integrity in leaders from the inside out. And I believe we've got the definition of integrity all wrong. Integrity is wholeness. It's got nothing to do with doing the right thing, even when no one's watching. So if we want to create psychological safety, we've first got to be whole as leaders and then create whole teams.
Well, thank you for joining us, Chantal, and I couldn't agree with you more. Jesper, welcome. Please introduce yourself, and it's great to have you join us.
Thank you. I will just first say the waiting music we had at the backstage. We should get Elon Musk to send out a rocket with a big speaker and just play that sound to the whole earth so everyone can relax a bit. I already feel I was like really. But yeah, I'm Jesper, co-founder of Train for Good. So we help, of course, people get in shape, and at the same time, we help struggling communities do better. So that's essentially what we do in a nutshell.
Well, I like the quick introduction, Jesper. I mean, it's straight to the point, and it's great to have you with us as well. I think this is your first time with us, I believe. So welcome and thank you for joining us today. We'll now go over to Sunil. Please introduce yourself and welcome.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Sunil Subeda from the Netherlands, near Amsterdam. I'm 22 years in the IT field, more than 22 years my own company, Subed, and I'm working for more than 12 years in the cybersecurity field. Ethical hacking, pen testing, more the technical side of cybersecurity. Currently, I'm working on an assignment for the Netherlands Army, cryptography and PKI area. So too much and more in details I can't share, but
security reasons, of course.
Yeah, on the cybersecurity also. And yeah, very often get the opportunity to speak as a keynote speaker. So last week I was in Barcelona speaking on a conference, and the week before I was in Rome also speaking on a cybersecurity kind of conference. So that's quick and short about me.
Thank you for joining us, Sunil, and it's great to have you with us. And cybersecurity is extremely important, so I'm glad to have you with us on the panel today. Catherine, once again, I think this is like our 10th time together, but I love spending every roundtable discussion with you, so please do introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Russell, and good morning from the Pacific Coast. I'm Catherine Kavanagh. I direct Screen 360 TV, a National Science Foundation project last year. And we are concerned with security because Screen 360 TV follows the kids. Kids, 350 million are playing Fortnite, and through global hubs, kids want to know what other kids in the world are doing. And so Screen 360 gives them guided opportunities through the film festival model, bringing them together over time in geographical borders. So we want to know what the world needs to be secure and to be able to connect them through that security.
Catherine, great to have you with us once again, and I'm very excited for around this roundtable discussion as well. Orestes, we'll go over to you next, and then Alison, last but not least, we'll get you on as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. Great to see you all here. My name is Peter Orestes. I'm the CEO and the founder of a company called GatherVerse, located in the Netherlands, and we're doing research regarding the digital transformation and disruptive transformation of a cross variety of sectors, from agriculture, education, healthcare, arts, and currently biotech. And yeah, I'm glad to see you all and shaping the discussion with my input also on many subjects. Interesting. And yeah.
Orestes, great to see you once again, and thank you for also joining us at GatherVerse. And like I said, last but not least, Alison, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's great to be here with such a great panel, some of whom I've met before. Hi again. So I'm Alison. I'm a serial tech entrepreneur and turned VC investor, and I'm really interested in the intersection between technology and tech for good and the social and environmental change that can bring for the planet. So really interested to hear all the opinions on today's session.
Absolutely, and thank you for joining us, Alison. And it's great to see you once again as well, some of our regulars here. So let's get into the roundtable discussion. So question one, and I am very looking forward to this, which is, can safety be measured, or is it something we only truly feel when it breaks down? Very interesting question, and maybe it's both, but you know, I'll let the panelists answer this. So we'll start with yourself, Shule.
Yes.
Shule, we'll start with yourself, please. Yeah.
All right. So, as you said, very good question, very clever question. However, it's not easy to explain or answer like 100%, because when you talk about safety in technology, it differs from the technology generators, developers, to regular people on the street, to an academician, or to a parent. And starting from this very deep discussion, the argument from the developer side says, I mean, it's variable. Some people are disturbed by certain things on social media, for example, the others don't. So it's a kind of protection for them, or an argument which we may accept or not. But this is their description of safety. But as for the regular people, it changes. For example, for me, being 40-something, I take safety as one description, or Gen Z is another. Let me take as Alison mentioned, Catherine mentioned about the restrictions that should be taken on social media under 18 or under 16. So actually, for example, let's take safety for Gen Z children, or the following generations. Who decides on the safety for the youngsters? Who decides for example, the disadvantaged people? Or, I mean, what is the main criteria? So to my understanding, it's absolutely the real discussion here that we have come so far. And Europe, I feel Europe as a master of regulation is very much struck in between innovation and safety of AI. I see this the very priority that the entire world should be speaking and debating about.
I agree, and you know, when you're thinking about, you know, could it be measured? I mean, maybe there could be some ways you could measure it. For example, you could measure on privacy, right? And if there's any sort of privacy breaches, you could measure it based upon cybersecurity standpoint, right? How many attacks that have happened and or been mitigated, you know, stuff like that. So there's mostly ways in which you can measure the safety, so to speak. But I can pretty agree with what you're saying. When it comes to the EU regulations and the regulations that have been put in place, you know, there is a safety component there with the regulation side. Chantal, let's bring you into this conversation. What do you think about the safety? Could it be measured or not? Or like, what are your thoughts?
I love what Shule said about, different people have different perspectives. And I always say, define your definitions. So all of us look at safety very differently. Me personally, I don't necessarily look at it from a cyber perspective. I always look at it from a psychological perspective. And one person will feel safe in an environment where another person won't feel safe in that same environment. But if we step back and we take a bird's eye view of the world and where we're at the moment, we've got a loneliness epidemic. And this loneliness epidemic is exacerbated or even created by all this cyber connection. So we're highly connected, but we're highly lonely at the same time. And this loneliness means that we're feeling disconnected. And because of that, we're not feeling psychologically safe. So I wonder if we as a society started feeling more psychologically safe, more emotionally safe within ourselves, more connected, would it translate to how we show up in a tech-connected world?
Okay, that's very interesting. I guess that maybe comes from the standpoint of also how you feel, right? When you're defining, that sort of standpoint. So Neil, you're a cybersecurity expert and you do a lot in defense and that. Do you necessarily agree with these statements, or do you find that it's different when it comes from your perspective of a cybersecurity angle?
I agree actually with the statement. It's kind of mixed where we are dealing with. Mainly we are looking at the part if it's breakdown or there has been an incident. Based on the incident, we are trying to mitigate, find the solution, what happened. So the way back to find the solution or how can we prevent it. So by adding those kind of indicators related to learning part and how could we learn from the lesson what has been done. Based on that, you should be able to proceed. Mainly, I'm seeing the part of monitoring and check what happened and how can we mitigate this. There's very often a shortage on that, or not proper monitoring part has been in place to automate it also, but that is not the main reason, but it could be only the monitoring part what need to be done. As I put it as a sample, consider I have a car. We have know a car have report and crash report where the airbag pop-up sample. Based on those logs, you should be able to see what's happened. And but mainly, when are you able to look at the logs? If the airbag plops up, an incident happened, on those where you should be able to check it. But the other part is your tire, your brake, your condition of your oil. Those parts need also to be measured. There are a lot of indicators in the car where we are able to see, but how we are able to do and check that in advance, those parts is mainly missing or very often missing in those environments.
That is true. And when we talk about because we think about safety, we think about regulations, we think about responsible AI or responsibility or responsibleness, right? In a nutshell, so to speak. Let me get to the next question actually, which is, does responsibility stifle innovation, or does it provide a competitive advantage to an ever-evolving world? Now, I want to take a higher level to this, where we look at the US, they're deregulated, right? They're focused on innovation, etc. Then you've got the EU, which is highly regulated and is adding more regulation, so to speak, right? Or shall I say, just more regulated in general. Then we look at also GDPR and CCPA and other regulations too. So from this lens, does responsibility stifle innovation, as in regulation, making it responsible, so to speak, or does it provide a competitive advantage in ever-evolving world? So, Jasper, we haven't forgot about you, so we'll bring you into this conversation. But before we do that, Nawan, do you want to try your microphone and see if we've got it working this time?
Do you hear me now?
Yes, we do. Please introduce yourself. Welcome.
I'm very sorry, everybody about that. I have so many issues with my laptop since 2 weeks now, and I thought it was resolved, but no. So sorry for that.
Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, before to answer the question, I will quickly introduce myself. So I am a founder and managing director of an international consulting firm, dedicated for tech area generally, but deep tech, low tech in different sectors, from data center, agriculture, finance, industry, blockchain. So very diverse. And what we do exactly, we work with our customers at global strategy to be sure they are aligned with SDG and they would be sustainable and exist in 10 years. That it is our mission. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you for introducing yourself. We'll come back to that round to you. Don't worry, we've got a question for you just in a short while. Jasper, we're going to head over to you now, and then we'll head over to Catherine after for this question. So Jasper, please share us your thoughts on what I was saying before about, does responsibility stifle innovation, or does it provide a competitive advantage in an ever-evolving world? You know, when we're talking about, you know, even like regulation, which adds potentially to the responsibility. But I'm going to hand the microphone to you.
Yeah. So in terms of regulation, I think it's because it is a balance. I think because if you over-regulate, then you might stifle innovation as you choke everything out. But if you probably regulate in a more balanced way, for example, in the EU we have the GDPR laws, and also I've been working with that a lot. It's actually, when you first, in the beginning, it's a little bit a hassle and it takes too much, but it actually becomes more that, okay, you actually respect your customers' data and how you handle their personal information. So it's not just, oh yeah, we got the information and then we just throw the information all over the place and don't know where it goes, kind of thing.
Right.
So in that way, that's very create this balanced approach where if you maybe also have open asset in the US, and that's where it can kind of lead to this, that in the first place the intentions are good, we just want this take out as the maybe ones who develop it sees it can help people, but then you also have maybe some other people who comes in and just say, I can take advantage of this and use this for my own benefit to do X, Y, and Z, but that's very bad for the customer.
Jasper, I'm just going to jump in quickly. Do you think responsibility though stifles innovation, as in like when you're taking responsibility yourself and accountability yourself, kind of thing?
No, I actually think when you actually take on your own responsibility, you actually create the innovation, because now you force yourself to think different.
Yeah.
So let me give an example. I was actually working with EdTech at one point. And there we were looking at, I was looking at another company that was in Australia, I believe, or New Zealand or something like that. And what they actually had done with their platform, where they were working with preschool, like small kids from maybe 8 to 11.
Okay.
They actually implemented systems that will activate, what you can say, some trigger warnings. So if one kid maybe typed, okay, how do I commit suicide, or maybe misspelled in some way, then it will trigger a warning to the teacher so they can go in and, okay, we need to look at what is happening to this kid so we can help them properly.
Right.
So in that way, that you can say you had the innovation to do that by taking the responsibility to actually make sure the kids are safe and they get the help that they need.
Catherine, do you agree with all that, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree that regulations are design constraints and simply challenge the designer to think within them and create within them. In the EdTech world, which Jesper just spoke about, we've got COPPA, FERPA, and then everyone who develops a platform has the ADA requirements, so that regulates colors that, for instance, that are visible to someone with low vision. capacities. CAPA, this is the Children's Online PPPPA. I don't remember what that actually means, but that restricts children under age 13 from engaging without parental consent and more. And those are important guidelines. FERPA makes it intentional that parents can gain access to any kind of data that is collected for their children. And with Screen 360, we are research-based, and so we are very transparent about the data that we collect, and we want to engage participants as research participants so that they know that what they are showing us is developing further education and innovation that will support future knowledge, future education. And so that kind of mindset extended to participants online, we hope creates a more innovative future, more collaborative, innovative future.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting world we're also going into, right? I mean, with the whole AI world and that, like, it's well, as I like to call it, the age of AI. You know, how do we? It's kind of like, how do we maintain that, so to speak, or how do we keep innovating that and pushing that forward?
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
Immediate feedback. So when data is taken, for instance, and matched, present it. You know, after a session, for instance, with Screen 360, we present the feedback of the participants. For instance, if we ask a simple battery of questions for signing for onboarding. Mm-hmm. And for young people, it's simple things like, what's your favorite aroma? How do you like to fill a page? How do you get to school? What mode of transportation? And so at the end of a session, we can grab that, AI can grab that and present it to the students as points of empathy, how they connect. For instance, there are 5 students on this call who got to school by boat. There are 10 of you who love the scent of baking bread. And so these data points are moments of empathy for them to further remember and further remember the learning, the momentous learning event that just occurred. They watch at Screen 360 TV, they watch a film together and discuss it. And then the feedback reminds them of their login questions. Which
that's I think that's really good. I think feedback is extremely important for sure. I think it's important for innovation. And I'm not sure about the whole was it cooking, baking on the boat? That might not happen. It might not work. But
cooking and baking on the boat, getting to school by boat. You might smell.
I'm not sure about that bit, but the rest I agree with.
Let's discuss it afterwards, Russell.
Okay, let's go on to the next question, which is how can planetary sustainability truly scale in an era of acceleration? So what we're going to do is we'll go to Orestes, and then we'll go to Alison, and then Nguyen, we'll go to you with the next question, and then also we'll bring in Sol as well. So Orestes, what are your thoughts on how can planetary sustainability truly scale in an era of acceleration?
Yes. So as we have witnessed, resource scarcity and climate change, and also not a correct utilization of inputs for accelerating in all the innovative domains, are pushing the system to the limits, not only the food systems, but also the planetary systems and boundaries. I think that there should be a different regulatory, let's say, framework to incorporate all the available resources towards regenerative and sustainably driven productions and supply chains for either hardware devices or other devices that are used in large language centers. And there has to be also more research towards green energy and how this can be implemented in this type of acceleration, either with bio-based computing or other forms of circular resources and inputs. For example, utilizing recyclable plastic in wearables might be one small example. Yeah.
I would just add to that. Sorry, I would just add that. I'll just add to that, Orestes, as well, because you're talking about obviously regulation, which I think is extremely important for sure. But something that I also think about is also innovation itself. What I mean by that is, if you think about when you're talking about green energies, renewable energies, etc., like for example, there's not enough fresh water in the world basically to supply the infrastructure of AI, right? In terms of being able to keep all the data service cool. So what we should be able to use is the sea salt water, right? Be able to convert that into fresh water and then be able to pump that into the infrastructure of the servers to be able to keep them cool, so to speak. So, Orestes, when you're talking about innovation and renewable energy, just quickly, what are your thoughts on something like that, for example, that could be used to innovate AI in a nutshell?
Yeah. That's a really interesting approach on how we can have like a circular element to towards that green transition of such language centers. I think by utilizing the technologies, we can visualize in a way that concept and virtualize first before we move into that innovation in terms of via means of digital twinning, this type of technologies. And that also corresponds back to the regulatory framework, because every technology has to be ethically driven and scaled. So we cannot think about also the circularity of such technologies, but also what this circularity that will bring a huge amount of outputs, what this will bring also to society.
Alison, I see you nodding your head over that as well. I mean, obviously, I completely agree when it comes to human values and making sure that AI is aligned with human values and regulations, etc. And also when it comes to an ethical standpoint, what are your thoughts when it comes to how can a planetary sustainability truly scale in the era of acceleration from your point of view?
So I think it kind of starts with where we are today, and where we are today, we have a couple of we have three, we have a lot, but three that I will touch on, three kind of hindrances. One is that we're still in an era of consumption.
Mm-hmm.
We're not in an era where we're consciously thinking about where we're buying because we want, not because we need.
Okay.
We're in an era where I've lost train of thought, but where
dear.
It will come back to me. It will come back to me. But it's all about innovation and supporting that, and thinking we need to move away. The sustainability, my second point was sustainability goals from a global and planetary system are a nice framework, but they're conflicting, right? You can, reduce deforestation at the cost of water consumption. So you can conflict within the same framework. Also, the sustainability goals are also incredibly biased to Northern Hemisphere regions. And so there's a lot of research in the Philippines right now where they're trying to work on their own framework, because the sustainability metrics are really, really hard to map out there in a meaningful and impactful way. And so that really stifles that that innovation. But I think it really comes down to circularity and energy. And using your example of, you know, desalination of seawater for AI, you know, desalination is incredibly energy intensive. And so our biggest threat today is energy sustainability. And because everything comes down to it, as we are trying to move away from fossil fuels and moving to electrical, how is that electric created? And the biggest innovation will be, how can we create electricity in other ways, in ways that are more, you know, and more sustainable and have a lesser effect on the infrastructure. But I think as well, we need to think about, you know, planetary sustainability and that. You know, I currently live in Ireland, and we quite often have power cuts where power is diverted. I know, European country, power is diverted to the data centers as priority rather than, you know, housing and, you know, the locality. And that's not even during storms or, you know, times where there's disruptions. That's just all the time.
Right.
And I think that that's problematic, because I think that as AI keeps going, that, you know, to me, we are prioritizing the machine rather than humanity. And that machine is not circular. That machine is generating more and more issues that is built by humanity, but yet we're prioritizing the machine. And so I think that this is something that I don't necessarily have the answer to, but it's something that would be a great conversation over a bottle of wine or whatever your drink of choice is. But it's how can you, you know, if you've got a 9-year-old, 10-year-old making, you know, queries on ChatGPT or Perplexity, that's the same energy consumption as boiling your kettle. So is that necessary? And at what point is that sustainable? And is it really necessary, or what has to drop off to allow that to happen? Because we can't continue on the trajectory that we are, because the governments have shown they're going to prioritize the data centers and not humanity, which is an issue for humanity that created this technology.
That is so true. And, you know, I always say that, you know, behind every great technology is humanity, right? Because we really, it's our own intelligence of mind, so to speak, which does the innovation, right? And comes up with the ideas. I mean, that's why we have computers now. That's why we have lights. You know, that's why we have every single innovation has been invented by a human. So the fact that now, you know, we're pushing AI and it's taking all these resources away, I completely agree with that. And we do need to put humanity first and make sure that, you know, AI is aligned with human values. So let's go on to the next question now, which is shared.
Can I have a word about this? Just a few.
For this question, I'm going to go to Norwen first, and then I can come over to you after.
All right, it was a relevant joke. That's
okay. Well, go ahead. If it's a quick joke, I'm all for jokes.
No, so I just recently saw a video on Instagram. A guy runs out of electricity in the middle of the road, and another guy stops by, and the driver, the first driver, asks for gas, and he answers, "So, how come your car runs with electricity? You talk about the gas," and says, "Yes, exactly." And he takes out some gas from his car. The reason would be there's a machine, there's an engine at the back of the electricity car. So he brings it out and puts gas on it, and he produces electricity, and he charges his car.
Oh wow! Okay.
So this is a kind of actually creating alternative ideas and technologies and methods in the face of, as Alison says, the technology world, and the countries would actually choose to invest in data centers than the responsibility to the humans. that's the reason for which a lot of scientists work on alternative ways or methods, but I don't know how it's gonna. I'm not very hopeful about it, to be honest.
Oh, well, that's not good news. You're not very hopeful about it. Nguyen, please join us. So my question for you is shared survival possible in a world of unequal resources? What are your thoughts, Nguyen?
I have so many thoughts, to be fair. So, I think we don't have enough time to discuss this topic. Just before Alison, I work on data center market since 20 years now, and my thesis was about green data center. So clearly, it would be very interesting to discuss with you and carry on that, because yes, we have to consider where we will put our priority today and tomorrow for our children, because yes, but the future is not us, it is our children, so we have to take care of them, and energy is very important. So, however, to answer to your question, Russell, which is a very difficult topic, I can't say personally we are unequal resources. We live, all of us, in the same planet, but the split of where is the metals, where is the resources are not in the same place.
Okay.
So, and I will give you one example, and very important, cobalt. So cobalt, it is mandatory to produce all of your high-tech products. You have cobalt on your mobile, on your laptop, on IoT, in all products you have cobalt. The country who extracts, for the extraction, 63% is RDC, so Republic Democratic of Congo. Okay. That's why there is some tension sometimes with another country, just at the east of this country. However, who change and transform these metals to be sure we can use it in our technology is not RDC, it is China. So that's China is very important today in tech area, because they transform metals, and that is very key and fundamental. And in Europe, it's very important to know that in Europe we have a Critical Material Act, and for the Critical Material Act, it is to reduce our dependency clearly about from specific area region. Because we know that we live today in very strange time, to be fair. On the east, on the west, it is more or less the same. But we have to be sure in the future it will be help us. And many people, because we discuss about AI, yeah, great. We can discuss about NVIDIA, we can discuss about all of this company, but we have to we have to remind you that an European company, ASML, you need ASML company to produce the product of NVIDIA. Europe is very key today on the AI area. So many people don't know this company, and it's an European company, amazing, very confidential. We have also in semiconductor market, we have also European leaders like SMA Microelectronics. So we have to consider them also at the same time. But yes, we can live in unequal resources, but we should take attention about where these resources come from. And
100%, and I'll jump in as well, Nguyen, because I saw this morning. I was actually watching the news this morning, and they were talking about how was it 63 million 63 million tons, I think, of like a certain what do they call it, very like limited resources basically, and it basically is all about like it sort of focuses on the magnets within like your earpods and stuff like that. And they're saying about how all of that comes from China, because they have the mines and everything that they have for it, and they literally then take those minerals then create the products to then distribute it to the world, right? So when you're talking about that, and we're talking about the trade wars in which, Trump, and which we won't go down that route, to be honest, but in a nutshell, I completely agree with what you're saying. when we're talking about this question, which is shared survival possible in a world of unequal resources? Really, we should be sharing those, resources as equal as possible. But there's a whole political game, so to speak, with that. So
it's clearly a political game. Clearly, all the time it is a political game. The access of metals, mining, minerals, it is a geopolitical game, clearly. But we should remind us that technology has a huge impact. But technology and innovation, because for me it is an opportunity to innovate. It's not only high-tech product. We can innovate with low-tech solution. We can innovate with frugal innovation. It's not mandatory to have all the time high-tech connected product. It's not mandatory. And what I wanted to add, it is, if you don't take care about that, it would be a lack of our humanity, because behind that, I also see human traffic and children labor. So we should take care of all of things. So yes.
Well, thank you.
All the time about this topic. So
thank you for your input and your expression there. And I do agree. We need to be sharing the resources around for sure. And even Alison was nodding her head and agreeing as well. So now the next question is, what happens when responsibility collides with the need to innovate faster? So, if we look at US as a good example for this here, they've reduced the regulations, they're innovating. As I like to say, two things can be true at once, as in you can have safety and innovation at the same time. That's what I believe. But, I want to bring you guys into this conversation, especially Jasper, and we'll also go over to Sunil. The question is, what happens when responsibility collides with the need to innovate faster? What's your thoughts, Jasper?
I mean, the question sounds very much like what we see with the AI development right now. If you just follow what Elon Musk, for example, says about we need to safeguard AI, make sure it also is safe, and then on the other hand, you have just companies going full speed ahead to innovate it and make it the best possible thing they can, while they just basically rip all the data from the entire internet. So I think, just to get to my point here, I think the way we probably in some way often sees it is that the regulation is in the way, or responsibility is in the way. But it's probably more just a mindset thing rather than actually, I'm going to say, a coalition. It is there, because if you think about it, if you want to take responsibility and make it and to innovate fast, it's just require you to think in a different way, essentially, and innovate in a different way. But the way we have probably been used to innovate in the last maybe 200 years has just been full speed ahead. No thinking of how you. I will probably use the word here: respect the end user or where you take it from. That you can probably say that's a lack of respect. So you just go full steam ahead for your, own winning, or the company you are innovating for is winning.
Well, thank you, Jasper. And I think there's a balance to everything, right? And in a nutshell, really. Sunil, curious to hear from your perspective. Again, being the cybersecurity defense tag, from your lens and your point of view, what happens when responsibility collides with the need to innovate faster? From your point of view.
I'm able to see that fasting or having part very fast is one part, but they are not considering the whole architecture or the way how it has been designed. So mainly in a lot of IT projects, we have seen huge IT projects, but just proceed, security we will add later on or at the end. If that is the case, the security could be part to say the whole design is not correct, the architecture plate is not correct. Go back and start again to build it up. That is one of the main reasons also a lot of IT projects was not able to proceed in the timelines what they got. Also, mainly the reason is security is too complicated. We are not able to understand what they are doing, especially cyber security, or by adding or have at least a pen tester to check if everything is fine. Those capability project leaders not able to add. So in those ways, yeah, they are able to say, okay, just proceed. We need it as soon as possible, but forget the way how we should be able to make it safe or secure.
Completely agree. And
add that one. Yep.
And we're running out of time, so we've got about 4 or 5 minutes left. So what I'm going to do in order to have all our panelists involved, because I don't like to leave anyone out at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a question, and then basically each of you have 30 seconds to 60 seconds to answer that question, so then we can get at least everyone's input around the round table, so that, you know, we can get your thoughts and different points of view. So what I'm going to ask is, you know, we understand where we're currently at right now within the EU and within AI technology and technology as a whole. What is it that each of you would like to see in the future? And obviously each of you can think about it, of course. Well, other than the person that starts, of course. But what is the thing that you would like to see in the future with AI? Let's say in the next 3 to 5 years, what is something that you would like to see happen within the innovation of AI? So we'll start with Jasper, and then we'll head over to Alison, Orestes, Sil, Nguyen, Sunil, and then Catherine. So we'll go in that order. So Jasper, over to you. What's something you would like to see in the next 3 to 5 years in the AI innovation age, so to speak?
If we start from the base of it, because it's run on data, so you can say that probably some better guidelines and regulation in regards to what data is these AI companies actually allowed to train on, so there's better like structure and a better framework on that. Because I think with AI, that's kind of where the core problem is. It starts there, how they scrap the data, because you can see just with OpenAI, the first thing they did was just scraping the entire internet. How does royalty works for books, music, lyrics, and all these kind of things now when the AI can do it.
I completely agree. Better guidelines, better regulations. Completely agree. Alison, 30 seconds, please. What is something you would like to see in the future in the age of AI in the next 3 to 5 years, let's say?
I'd like to see dark data disappear. So all those things you don't need to save on, like I'd like to see your data have an expiry and delete date, or an opt-in. Because I think that is just slowing down the latency and slowing down the system. So I don't have the answer to how you would do that, but I think dark data needs to disappear.
Orestes, please share your thoughts as well. And I agree with you, Alison, by the way. Orestes, please share your thoughts. What's something you'd like to see in the next 3 to 5 years?
It would be nice to see by my eyes, but also probably from the humanity's eyes, if the humanity agrees with me. Disruptive, ethically driven, and sustainable innovation, with the main goal making mankind a better place for the humans, but also opening the boundaries, the planetary boundaries and the galaxy boundaries for other opportunities that they might arise by incorporating this type of technologies in various sectors, for example, space aviation.
Orestes, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Next on the...
Yeah, it's me, right? So I'm hoping, just hoping that the guidelines and safeguards have to have one understanding and one definition, so that all the countries and the technology developers should obey with this. They have to be obliged to obey or align themselves with these regulations. And my realistic hope is that we should take children first, and this is going to happen. Just recently, Denmark announced it. So this is coming, and children are the first in terms of human-centric AI applications. So I believe this is going to happen.
100% agree on that. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for sharing that as well. I didn't realize Denmark had that. So you're even teaching me that's something I don't know. So thank you for that. Nguyen, what is something you would like to see next 3 to 5 years in the age of AI?
In AI, my dream, it is we embrace more diverse people, including neurodivergent in our team, clearly, because our richness is our difference. So if you want an innovative, sustainable, and more inclusive future, I think we should include everyone. So every provider, we need them, and we need all brands. That's it in my dream.
Thank you, Nguyen, for that. Sunil, your thoughts, please.
I hope that we are able to defend ourselves better with AI opportunities and possibilities, what the good actors are able to use, but also the bad actors. So we hope we are preparing ourselves better, much better on cyber level. Still a lot of organizations don't prepare properly on cyber. So with adding AI, it will be much harder. So hopefully we are able to prepare better because we know already the attacks will be better, and even security professionals having issues and difficulties to recognize and knowing this kind of professional attacks are coming. So that, and another part will be indeed maybe better to have everyone in the globe the same kind of GDPR and those kind of regulations what we are using in Europe. So that can help also to make us safer in the future.
Completely agree about the defense side of things, 100%. Sunil, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts there. And last but not least, the lovely Catherine, please share your thoughts.
Well, I hope that AI can support the coordination of the gatekeepers, the funding gatekeepers, to cross borders and understand the value of travel, through technology, and travel as a learning tool, and so that they will fund things that support education through travel-like immersive experiences, and trust. Trust increases both with those funders, those gatekeepers, as well as those users who are embarking out into the world to meet their international peers.
Catherine, thank you for sharing. And that is it for this roundtable discussion. And I will quickly share mine, actually. Mine would be a trustworthy future which everyone can trust AIs, in a nutshell. Verification, trust, and earning our trust, basically, over time. But anyway, that's all we've got time for. Thank you so much to all the panelists. Please do follow them. Check them out on LinkedIn. They're all available on LinkedIn. So go on, you check them out on there. Make sure you follow, connect, etc. It's been a fantastic roundtable discussion. And we've got much more roundtable discussions and fireside chats happening as well. And that is it from this panel. So I'll gather as well. And thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, my name is Carla Gene. I'm a tech anthropologist from the Netherlands, and I'm going to talk at GatherVerse about anthropomorphization. Anthropomorphization is assigning human traits, emotions, or intentions to something non-human. We do this all the time, and especially when something is unpredictable. For example, when you drive a second-hand car, an old Volkswagen that keeps breaking down, you will probably name it, you'll probably talk to it to bring it in the right mood, and ascribe feelings and emotions to it, like it's not having its day today. We do this all the time. Why? Well, anthropologists believe we have been doing this for over 40,000 years. It's a very human thing to do. For example, the first hunter-gatherers, when they were hunting for big game, it would help them to step into the shoes or hooves of a mammoth and think about what it would do next, try to predict its next move, would make hunting easier. So it's a way for us to make sense of a complex word, predict it, get a grip of it. Also, anthropomorphization helps us fulfill a social need. Humans like to relate to humans, and when there are no other humans around, an object or a pet might help elevate some of our loneliness. So this is a very human thing, and then a few years ago large language models came on the market, and if you know how easy it is for humans to anthropomorphize, you can imagine how we would do that, because large language models, they make use of natural language, they show empathy towards us, they tell us they care, and they're also very unpredictable. And there's so it helps us to anthropomorphize the machine to sort of intuitively understand how we can work with it. And there's also a paradox in that although a large language model is not human, it often performs better when we treat it as one. So there's a lot of reasons why we do this, but there are also risks involved. For example, when you anthropomorphize the model and think of it as a friend, you might forget that there's a commercial company behind it that is wanting to scrape your personal data. And we might overshare. You might tell it things that you wouldn't tell another soul, like your medical history, your most intimate thoughts. Also, we can put too much trust in a machine and overestimate its capabilities or rely on it for advice, forgetting that the machine has no experience of being human and what that means. We might get emotionally attached, and also it can give us a wrong sense of what a relationship is. When we build relationships with robots, these are relational artifacts, and they are not capable of loving us in return. And we forget that relationships are about give and take, about both persons having their own needs and taking those both in account, navigating that. So how do we mitigate these risks? When it comes to AI builders, things that are important is to make it clear that users are talking to an AI. This is already a legal requirement in a lot of countries, but it's often just a small line of text at the beginning of the interaction. You really want constant reminders that you're not talking to another human being. This also means designing without exaggerated human traits and creating friction or interruption when users get over-attached. This all makes a lot of sense, but a lot of companies nowadays are not doing any of this. In fact, they're doing the opposite and exaggerating, making them more human, giving them faces, giving their human voices. So we also have to do something as users of these models. One thing that's very important is AI literacy. Make sure you understand how these models work technologically. Also, actively remind yourself it's not a human, for example, by using it instead of him or her. And avoid excessive emotional involvement. If you notice you are relying on the AI for support, comfort, or meaning, pause. Seek contact with other people. This brings me to my final thought. When you or others around you get emotionally attached to the machine, please don't mock them. Don't pretend like they're crazy because this is just a machine. Remember that bonding with a machine is a very human thing to do, and reach out to them. Ask them for a coffee. Have a chat. This was my presentation. Thank you very much for inviting me. Have a good day.
Welcome back to GatherVerse Europe Tech for Humanity Summit and day 1. And we have a fireside chat with myself and the one and only Lynn, the Director of Communications at GatherVerse. Hello, Lynn. Great to see you.
Hi, Russell. Great to see you too. This is a very wonderful Europe day.
I know, I'm loving it. Like,
Yes.
this is my hometown, you know, like my home
I
continent.
know the feeling when you just visited home and I can hear the perspectives from Europe. I'm just loving it so far.
What are your thoughts on the roundtables that we've had so far? Just quickly, I know we haven't got long because obviously
Yes.
we've got to jump into your roundtable discussion next. But please do share your thoughts on what your thoughts so far.
For me, what stood out for me is the planetary health, the concern of even having a sustainable, innovative environment, and the issue of responsibility. Let's just say it as it is. Europe has that mantle. It has that mantle for responsibility, safety, and just making sure that innovation aligns with standards. That's something I commend for Europe, and even the diversity of voices. You know, you get so many diverse things from Europe, and I only thought Africa is the only diverse place until I met Europe. Europe is very diverse, and I was very happy to hear from all the speakers who just shared what they shared.
Absolutely, and I agree with you, Lynn. And you know, it makes me think. You know, when Donald Trump came over here and put in like, was it 40 odd billion when it came to the UK? I was like, first of all, I did not expect that, but second of all, I think, you know, this really helps both the UK and Europe, you know, so to speak, in putting AI, you know, further on the map, so to speak. So, you know, what are your thoughts on just AI in general and from your lens? Because I know you've used it quite a lot. I know you've used a lot of different tools. I know you've used a lot of different models. You know, just tell us, like, what are your thoughts from your point of view in terms of, you know, what you've used so far?
Yeah, so far, with all the gatherings we've had, especially with Tech for Humanity, we've had from all continents. And for me, the overarching thing that I've had from all people is education. I think even from just the recent talk that we've had right now, the panel, and also the pre-recorded talk about anthropomizing AI. I loved that talk, and it started with AI literacy. For me, I think that's the biggest infrastructure, and the way Chris had emphasized earlier on, the biggest infrastructure for AI is education. So for me, if education, we can get technologists, everyone, the speakers we have here at GatherVerse, people like Q who are doing with things to do with the trust. We could just get all stakeholders and we learn together. It's not about who is the experts, because this is the frontier. We don't have any expert as we think we do. But it's about just coming together as we are right now with GatherVerse and sharing knowledge with each other, peer-to-peer knowledge. For me, that is what will help humanity move forward with progress and ethical concerns and responsibility without
100%.
looking at AI as a threat.
Yeah, AI is changing every day. We all know that. We all see the innovation of what is happening, and it's changing every single industry, all of our lives, and it's in every single thing that we do and use. So I'm really excited about your panel coming up next, Lynn, which is the realities of today, who is included and who is left out. So I'm very interested to see what the panelists have to say to that. And we've got amazing people like Dr. Venue, Rui, Ian Kang, Professor, Sean Mann, and Lauren all come up next. So I'm going to hand the microphone back over to the GatherVerse team, and then we'll see you in your roundtable discussion. Thank you so much, Lynn.
Sure. Thank you for your panel as well. That was very insightful.
I'll gather as well, as Christopher would say.
Hello and greetings. Welcome to our second panel. And this is GatherVerse Europe Tech for Humanity Summit. So far, so good. Europe is sharing her thoughts and we're loving it. So we're here to talk about the realities of today, who is included and who is left out. With me, I have a group of expert panelists. Some of them, you know them, some of them are new, and we're very happy to welcome them here at GatherVerse. So panelists, I'd request you to kindly mute your mics until called upon. And we shall be brief with our expressions, and we shall also be just share from your heart, all right? So I will start with you, Sean. I will start with the introductions from you, Sean, all the way, and we're gonna conclude the introductions with Dr. Venue. And I ask you to be brief, tell us who you are and why you're here. Sean, please.
Hi, thank you, Lynn, for putting this together. This is awesome, and all the other panelists. I'm Sean Mann, CEO and co-founder of RP1. We created the first 3D browser, which you can experience today at rp1.com. And really, this is going to enable the next open ecosystem that's going to power the spatial internet. So if you think about how important the browser was for the current internet, we've created a way for all 3D, including the future of AR, to be fully connected everywhere in the world. And so we're happy to be here and share our thoughts. Thanks so much, Lynn.
Yes, that is very impressive. We're looking forward to engage you with if you're including people or not. We're looking forward to hear from you. Lauren, over to you.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I started studying virtual and augmented reality at Chapman University about 5 years ago, and then I went on to get my master's in VR, and I've worked in the field since then. I'm here really just to talk about the future of immersive technology and artificial intelligence. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're very happy to have you once again, Lauren. Ian, nice to see you again. Tell us who you are for those who don't know you.
All right. I'm the founder of Haula Hybrid Online Live, where I try to guide many ordinary school students. They can enjoy international school level education effect with very small amount of tuition. And based on, I guide them based on logic, cognitive science, and AI-based education methods. My ideal is to provide every single student with a personal mentor or tutor. Or so as you know, many people have lost their job nowadays due to the rise of AI. So those people need their job. So I think this kind of model could be the best job opportunity for them as well, because my model is based on the micro group learning approach. So many groups, small groups of students need as many numbers of teachers. So I think that's what I'm trying to do right now.
Oh, that's impressive. We're very happy to have you once again. Professor Dr. Vera, if I pronounced it right. If I didn't, please correct me. Over to you.
Greetings of the day. I'm from India. I'm basically an educationalist who's been working for more than 30 years and trying to bridge social and economic gaps by empowering marginalized groups and promoting equal opportunities in education, employment, healthcare, and civic engagements. We are looking into a lot of quality assurances and supports which needs to develop for more inclusive communities and strengthen social bonds, particularly for vulnerable or historical excluded populations.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're very happy to hear from you. And did I pronounce it right? Is it Professor Dr. Vera? Did I do it right?
Yes, Veera Talukdar.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Rui, over to you.
Hello, everybody. Rui Pereira, longtime creative technologist. Been working with technology and tools also in my studio, Manus, which is a boutique of immersive technology. We look at tools. We look at technologies as tools, and as such, they should be used to make your life easier, better, happier. Happy to be here and share my perspective.
All right, we're very happy to have you as well. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Venue, you're always with us, and we very appreciate your presence. Please tell us who you are for those who don't know you.
Good morning, all of you, the panel members. Because my introduction is that recently, last week, we started, so many people are talking about AI, but we started AI integration with industry, like supply chain and healthcare and education. Because I love to drive the AI literacy program. We have been completed 50,000 students have been, educated on AI of the basic fundamentals. And another target is by December or by March, another 50,000 students should be educated.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. We welcome you once again, and thank you for always being with us.
Thank you very much.
And panelists, shall we begin with our discussion today? Yes. All right. That's a good signal. Sean, I'm going to start with you, and anyone can chime in as well. What is the reality of today? What is inclusion? Let's define inclusion. What is inclusion to you, Sean? What is inclusion to you, Dr. Birra? Tell me.
Yeah, I think the technology itself is important, where all people can build and deploy not only their content and their creations, but the tools and things that make it possible. And I think the biggest example today is the World Wide Web. We have the most inclusive set of technologies that's created a open ecosystem where everyone can build, and you're not controlled by any one company. And the biggest challenge today is that we have some of the biggest tech companies that want to own the next 3D space for the internet, and it's going to really keep a lot of people out as far as building tools and things to participate. And so if we want an inclusive technology that brings the world together, it needs to be in an open ecosystem.
Yes, so inclusion for you is an open ecosystem, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Should I?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So this is basically inclusion we are talking about is digital inclusion. So equal access to technology. That would include affordable bandwidth, devices, reliable internet infrastructures for everyone. And then the second part that we would like to also attend and inclusion is that the digital literacy and skills that individuals must have the knowledge of safety navigating, utilize, and create digital content with minimizing barriers to participants.
Yes.
Thirdly is it should be accessibility and usability. Digital platforms must be designed to accommodate diverse needs, including those of the people with disabilities of limited technological skills. And lastly, which I feel is the inclusive policies and support. Government, businesses, and the communities should collaborate to address institutional and structural barriers that perpetuate the digital divides that we are finding nowadays.
Yes.
So, according to me, this I mean.
Right. Professor, that was well put, and how you highlighted it couldn't be said better. When you were talking, Professor, really, I couldn't help but see you agreeing to everything that she was saying. Briefly, just tell us what you think.
Yeah, I totally agree with Professor Dr. Vida. I think we don't need to define inclusion. We already know what inclusion means, and many of us have been, fighting to, not only, have everybody access technology, but everybody, depending on their creed, where they come from, their culture, their intellectual abilities, or even, their digital, literacy. So it is that all of us can access in the same level technology. Parity, I think it's another nice word to put into the conversation. I think that right now there's a huge paradox and a paradigm of in the sense that we are with AI, for example, getting much, much closer for everybody to access tools, to access knowledge, to even build things, right? We have vibe coding, etc.
Yes.
But on the other hand, we also are creating barriers, huge barriers, because right now, not everybody has access to AI, or maybe right now, a lot of people have access to AI. But we know from the industry and the history that this is just a moment, a flippity moment in time. And soon enough, we'll have not only subscriptions that will become barriers to access. We will then then the premium subscriptions will come, which will become, even more differentiation. So I think it's a very interesting time to talk about this and to really think and look at the world that we have right now. That, with AI, we have, the multimodality of AI is fantastic because computer systems can see, hear, talk, understand the world in its all modalities. So, for example, in terms of accessibility, we are much better equipped to actually create access, with different modalities that we had before, right? A computer can just talk or text or can tell you what it sees if you cannot see by yourself.
Yes,
so that's
Dr.
fantastic.
Rui,
But then
I'm gonna put you on hold on that. I'm gonna put a pen on that. I'm coming to you on that. But before we will go to where you are going, Lauren, I was just wondering, Dr. Vera has expressed, Rui and Sean has expressed. We have said inclusion is a matter of openness. But I'm just wondering, who's paying the price for inclusion? Who benefits? Okay, who will benefit actually, and who pays the price for accessibility? Who caters the costs for things to be accessed to the world? Lauren.
Yeah. So I think that the inclusion often profits the corporations. So having big companies, and it just kind of depends on what you're using it for. But I think that having inclusive environments in the Web3 space and digital space can be really powerful, especially when connecting companies that are all virtual and kind of spread out through the country. So having a space where they can work on whiteboards and have people actually feel like they're there and have agencies. So being able to adjust the different settings and spaces within the 3D world.
Right.
Yeah.
So big corporations they do benefit. Let's be honest, that's for real. But Aaron, who pays the cost then? Is it the big corporations or is it the governments, or who pays the cost for inclusion?
Well, I mean, if the proper inclusion is realized in the world, obviously, I think the privileged who used to have a privilege for their own information and professionals, I think they would, have to pay the cost. Especially in terms of education, in the traditional world, like only privileged ones who could have the professional tutors or like a professional teachers or all kinds of those programs or systems. But now now that everybody can enjoy this sort of program, and then obviously there could be that one because the previous one, they would lose their kind of authority and their prestigious rights. But the thing is, I kind of differently define the definition of inclusion. Inclusion should be differentiated from accessibility to
All right.
I think inclusion is all about human emotion, human connectedness, social connectedness. So there is a big paradox. So the people have to learn about these AI technologies nowadays, but at the same time, for many learners, they shouldn't learn too much. They shouldn't heavily rely on technology. So that's exactly what I'm thinking and what I'm doing. So students need to refrain from using AI when they learn things. Their personal guides or teachers or tutors, they can fully utilize the AI and then they can guide them. So I think tutors or this kind of people could play a big role in guiding them in the right direction. So use this sort of technology for the future, but please refrain from using this sort of technology or something like that. They should some sort of like a guideline.
All right, Ian, I've had you at that. Thank you for highlighting the difference between accessibility and inclusion. I think that was well put. Dr. Venue, I'm coming to you, and what determines the limits of access in technology, finance, and the society in general? Who determines the limits? This is how far you can get access. Is there a cap Is there someone who says this is how far you can access this? All right, Dr. Benny, I want to hear from you. And also, see we're nodding to that. I'll briefly hear from you, but Dr. Benny, kindly chime in briefly.
Sure. Because now today society is divided into, as a digital division is happened. Complete world. You take any city, there is a bifurcation on the digital dividing. Digital dividing in the sense of modern society, one is a focus on technology now. We are being driven by the technology, complete digital world. One is that how to access the technologies is one part of the world. Another is that how development of AI is that. But the victims of this digital division, one is that youth and elder people who have been not educated on AI technologies or latest digital technology. Another is the people who have been senior citizens. They cannot upskill themselves. You know, I was reading one article in US, senior citizens, they cannot able to place an order online. The groceries needs to be delivered. You know, they need volunteers has to come to their doorstep, and they have to use the application to place an order. So that is the barrier it is building, because we are all talking about the benefit, but this is the one. Second is that community engagement is missing, because technology is making people to all together far away. Because today this panel is there was because it is bringing all the panel people together on the one platform. Another is that the victims of the technology advancement is that low income population, because they cannot afford digital infrastructure, because the entire world is not able to give the digital infrastructure. Because internet, we got it 15 years back, but internet today is that it is a basic commodity like electricity, water. How internet is become a part of life. It should be free of cost for each citizen, because today you step out from the home, without internet there is no life.
Yes, I completely agree with what you're expressing, and even thank you for highlighting
thank you.
People like the older ones, right? You know, I come from a very young continent. And the essence of even including the older ones, the elder ones, I think that really stands out. And most of them can't even buy or order online. But I feel like that's very essential that we include them. You know, Rui and Sean, I've seen you agreeing to what Dr. Venu has been saying. Rui, briefly touch on what we're talking about right now.
All right. First, I just want to disagree with Ian and then answer the second question really briefly. I believe that there cannot be inclusion without accessibility. They're two different things, I agree, but accessibility is important. We need all the voices. To answer the second question, who benefits from inclusion? All of us, humanity. That's who benefits from inclusion. The more voices we have present in these discussions, in these developments, the better. We know that. Third, who determines the limit in access? Right now, governments and big tech. And right now, governments and big tech are very tied together in some parts of the world to really control even further and to relegate, human rights, for example. Even in terms of information and access to your own information, that's also a human right. So that's my really quick hunch.
Yes, and I totally agree. And, you know, everyone here has their different perspectives. And when everyone chimes in, I truly believe it's super valuable. And I love how we're getting where we want to get for the benefit of humanity. Sean, what is your take?
Yeah, I think the panelists have all had great comments. I completely agree. We do have a challenge of just even basic internet access. I mean, I think we're still at like 35% globally. I think that was a year or two ago. I'm not sure what it is today, of people that don't have access to the internet. And I think Yeah, and I think the challenge is it's going to get worse. And what I mean by worse for those people is that when you start introducing AI, which is going to take jobs away from people, your education has become more important. And with the lack of teachers that exist on the planet, I believe AI is going to transform the educational system. And to not have access to that level of education is going to leave people even further behind. And if you think about it, the World Wide Web really connected us to share ideas, information, and let us learn from each other. And by not having access to that, you're going backwards while the rest of the population is moving forwards. And if you look at the question on who's limiting it, it is the governments, and whether that's for their own purposes, for restriction of their population to grow intelligently, to increase their value and to understand their current plights. I think that's massive problems that exist all over the world, and I think it's something that we do have to solve. And I don't know if that's done, holistically as a globe, or each of these governments have to take their part in understanding the importance of this with their people.
Yes, that's a different angle. If you're part of the government and you're watching us, this is just a bold truth from the people themselves. Some people feel like the government is the limit cap, of which it is to some extent. And this leads me to the next questions, and I'm coming to you, Professor Dr. Vero. What invincible barriers or walls keep communication out of economic and social opportunity? Are there invincible barriers apart from the government? What is keeping people from communicating in the world out here?
Yeah. The invisible walls still keep communities out of economic and social opportunities. And these include, number one, like the geographical barriers, such as the lack of transportation or physical infrastructure, hindering access to jobs, financial services, and education. Then it could be social biases and discrimination based on gender, ethnicity, caste, class, or disability, perpetuating exclusions that we basically call from social and economical systems. It could be economic constraints that include poverty and low income, which limit access to quality education, healthcare, and financial markets. Then it could also be educational barriers like poor financial literacy and lack of access to high quality learning resources, restricting upward mobility. The lastly and the most important that I would like to talk about is the digital divide, which some of our panelists have talked about, characterized by limited internet access and low digital literacy, restricting participants to basically digital economics and remote educations. Institutional discriminations and system biases in policies or workplace practices, glass ceiling, lack of mentorships, blocking certain groups from leadership positions and advancements. There could be regulatory hurdles such as stringent documentations, requirements for banking or social services, disproportionately excluding marginalized groups. Social economic backgrounds can be one of the major influences which would lead to less access to networks, keeping lower income groups from representations or success in leadership roles. Exclusions from informal networks that we generally talk about, such as social groups or business contacts, which are vital for career growth and opportunities.
All right.
Lastly, I would say about the cultural mindsets which may discourage creativity or entrepreneurships in some communities, limited economic development. And in this world of AI, in this world of technology, accessibility cannot be different from inclusion. That's my request that I would talk to my fellow panelists on it.
I love how we're going. We're just here to agree, and to disagree, and to find what is the really barrier, what is the real invisible barrier, and everyone chiming in. Your expressions are right, and that is what we want to hear. and there's someone who is watching you, and they're hearing what you have to say. And Dr. Vera, thank you for listing all those things up. You know, I felt like you highlighted all of them. Ian, do you feel like there's a solution to all invincible barriers? And as well as Lauren, do you feel like there's a solution for that? This is as a follow-up briefly. Ian, what do you feel is the solution? Briefly.
I think my viewpoint, I think this is a very, I have a clear answer. Like,
Yeah.
I think the biggest invisible words could be human mindset. Many people just keep things a secret. Like when they have some sort of like a very valuable information, they don't want to share it with others. Because
Yes.
if that information is kind of valuable, that could create money. I know about it, but especially in terms of education, people hesitate to share things with others. It's because of the fierce competition, in school environment. At the same time, even though there are like a bunch of innovative education tools out there, that doesn't mean anything in many senses because because of the heavy marketing cost. Like that's what I'm battling at the moment. I would like teach so many ordinary students, but they don't even know about this kind of technology and how to utilize this very affordable international school level education. And I would like to mention what kind of Rui contradicted. Of course, like inclusion means accessibility, but that's not all. Like in Korea, I mean, internet is fully connected to everybody, but that doesn't make anything in many senses. Many students don't even know how to utilize AI for their learnings. And like for example, in my one of my students, like she's very young, like a grade 3 student, and she doesn't learn anything from online, or she doesn't have any access to digital devices, but she knows very well. So in education, actually digital access might not mean much in many senses, especially for young learners. So in that sense, like accessibility cannot solve like all the issues about inclusion. I think that's yes.
That's a very interesting view, and thank you for sharing such examples. It keeps the learning wheel going. Lauren, what is your take on that? How do we remove these invisible barriers? What are the solutions you have seen so far?
Yeah. Hi. So I think that the people that are affected mostly by this are the countries that don't have as much accessibility to the internet. So just working to provide those solutions and hopefully get experiences that can run on like a base level of internet, and creating opportunities for those countries to learn about the tools that we have over here, and essentially sending programs and stuff like that to countries that are maybe not as fortunate as far as like technology and moving as fast as we are. Because I think it's also important to remember that innovation comes from diverse backgrounds. So having opportunities for these countries and people to also have a say in building the internet is really important as well.
That's right. That's right. And I think it applies everywhere. I would say it applies everywhere. It's just that some countries are more affected than the others. And thank you for sharing that. I think this is also a multi-stakeholder approach. Sean, you've always talked about open innovation, but I just want to hear the consequences. What are the consequences of a connected world that still leaves billions out? And we're talking over 2 billion. That is according to the statistics. Over 2 billions are still out, and some of them we don't even know them. They're not even included in the stats. So what is the consequences of leaving such behind?
I mean, I think we kind of touched upon it in some of the other questions. I think every person all over the world gives a viewpoint into their social kind of upbringing, their culture, the things, their perspectives, and what they see. And I think by sharing those things, I think it makes everything better in general. And I think what happens is if you exclude a lot of people, they're going to fall even further behind. And it becomes, I don't want to say the burden of everyone else, but at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to hopefully uplift our fellow humanity versus really just taking advantage of the technologies for ourselves. And I think we're going to be successful because a lot of us, we're at the, we're in societies where I live in big cities, but we don't understand or comprehend what it's like to be in smaller cities and countries that don't have the same resources that we've had ever since we were born, right? And I think the challenge is I think it's just going to exacerbate the problem that we have today with people with lack of internet. And so as you keep adding more technologies that is needed by internet access, it's only going to get worse for these individuals. And so I believe at some point we have to raise our hands and support. But I don't know if that's necessarily each country leading the way. I mean, I think, like you said, the government themselves have to make choices on why they're limiting these technologies to their people and decide, is that important to them? And it's a massive challenge. I'm not sure how you perfectly fix it because if it were, then everyone would have internet access today in one way. But I do believe, like, if you look at like what Elon Musk is doing and others with satellite things where you don't actually have to put a lot of infrastructure into places and you can easily get access. As those devices get cheaper, hopefully more and more people actually get internet access, and then that will drive, I think, the AI revolution that I believe is definitely going to happen.
Yes, that is a very optimistic view. I'd also comment on Starlink, right? I've seen it in African rural places that you could never imagine internet would reach, but we have now access to it. So even the devices, I'm seeing a lot of Chinese companies coming with very accessible, affordable devices that even the oldest and anyone can afford them. So I'm also optimistic on that, but I'm also aware of the dangers of just leaving a whole bunch of people behind. It's gonna be two separate worlds in the same app. Rui and Dr. Benny, do you have something to briefly add to that? What do you think are the consequences of leaving people behind?
Because technology is connecting all part of the world. So today, how we have been met, and this is the way when we connected, it is a sharing of different views geographically and personal experience. This is what the improvement starts.
Mm-hmm.
That is what the development comes.
Yes, I agree. Rui, I see you.
Yeah, I think we've all said it. It's really just building up to a more unfair, a more sectorist world, again, with one single vision that tries to explain the world to everybody else. And that's not what we need. We already had enough of that.
Yes, I agree with you. And let me just shift angles, and I'm gonna also go back to a little bit of inclusion because today we are talking about the realities of today, and inclusion is the overarching reality. Does inclusion end with optics instead of power redistribution? And when we say optics, we have seen a lot of government projects. We have seen a lot of companies launching projects. They will announce this fund has been released to do this and that for this community. A lot of projects are always announced every day. There's always a PR, a press release that has been just launched into the world of something that's going to happen. But does it end there? Is there a formula for power redistribution? What is the results of that? Do we have like results that are tangible that can be really be traced back that this project, when it was launched, this is what it accomplished when it comes to inclusion? And I want to hear from you, Dr. Vera, and anyone can also chime in on that. What is your take?
See, inclusion that ends in optics refers to superficial or symbolic gestures that create a positive appearance without changing underlying power structure. True inclusion requires redistribution of power and resources to dismantle systemic inequalities and enable equitable participation. Optics alone can serve as a form of performative inclusion, which may placate calls for changes but does not empower marginalized groups. Power redistribution shifts decision making authority access to resources, and policy influences, which will enable sustainable social and institutional transformations.
Yes.
Without power redistribution, inclusive efforts risking maintaining status quo inequalities while projecting an image of progress. It would always be very hazy. Genuine inclusion balances visibility and representation, that is optics that we call, with structural changes that redistribute power and opportunity. Lastly, I would like to add is scholars and activists often critics environmentalists with inclusion ends with optics as um, underlying real equity goals. So for me, it's a very challenging part how you would like to end with optics instead of power redistribution.
Yes, Dr. Vera, thank you for even highlighting that. But I'm just curious. I have a follow-up to that. Power redistribution. How do we change this power redistribution? We have seen, personally, I come from a place where we've seen one president ruling for decades, and it's just so hard. That is where they call dictatorship, and I know it happens in most parts of the world, where one person may stay in government or the same system may stay in a certain system for decades and decades and decades and decades. It's only PR, So how do you change power redistribution? Is power to the people or power to the person who decides to give it out? What is your take?
See, for me, what I basically want to say, power redistribution means it should be overall. It has to be with the technological pace that is being going along. And now, when there is dictatorship or when there is no change of power, that political areas I would not look into it. That's another geopolitics that is playing a big role into it. Now, when we talk about optics and inclusivity and bringing technology down to the people, that is where it has to be very symbolic gestures has to be done. How
Yes.
you would create a positive environment and take the technology as it is coming. You cannot be away from it. You have to be one of it, and you cannot say that I'm not going to be a part of it. In India, we have coming back. We had faced lots of challenges in early 80s and 90s, and now with our strong leaderships and AI is being included in our ecosystem
Yes.
from the very early stages. So we train the trainers, we do inclusivity,
Yes.
we talk about redistributions. So it depends of your again as your leaders, the thought processes of the leaders, how you take it up to the next level. That plays a very major role.
Yes.
Otherwise, the structural changes, whatever you say, there would always be a divide between the two.
Yes, that's right.
Matlab, there would not be true inclusions. That's what I mean to say. If you
Yeah.
want to have true inclusions, you must be the decision makers, whoever is there in authority, has to take a call for it.
That's right. That's right. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for following up. That is a very interesting perspective. Rui and Khan, I want to hear your perspective on this power distribution briefly.
I completely agree with what Dr. Vera said. I just want to add to that if we look right now, the distribution of technology access or internet in the world, if we look at it right now, there is no physical or geographical reason for it to not be all over the world. The reasons are substantially economic and financial.
Yes.
The power of technology, or the ones that own technology, and especially the internet right now, we all know that is, Google doesn't do anything for free. all these companies are taking, are doing this technology because they make money from it. And right now they make money from selling or using our data for advertising, marketing, etc. So
Yes.
they should also be the ones who should invest in that distribution. And they are the ones who are responsible for that inclusion or exclusion of determined regions. So just wanted to add that simple perspective.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. Khan, what is your perspective on redistribution of power? Your mic, please. Ian?
All right. Okay.
Yes, there we go.
I'm a bit confused. All right. I mean, so you asked me how power distribution can be possible.
Yes.
All right. I think everybody knows education. Education. So even young children, like as long as they are well educated, as they grow up, they will learn how to overcome their hardship in their life, and they will learn how to upgrade their life, and like by learning more and more. And so in that sense, learning how to fully utilize AI is very, very significant. I know about this, but this is, like I said, it's very paradoxical. They should not heavily rely on AI, but they also need to learn how to fully utilize it. So I think the teacher's role is very important. So at the same time, I mean, personally, I don't have a strong base in governmental system nowadays because of the fast pace of AI change. So in that sense, I really private sectors, private businesses, private entities who have well-aligned, globalized mission and vision, like the perspective of God, those humanitarian private sectors will play a big role in the future. So as long as they have more benefits from some governmental bodies, or as long as they work together with maybe United Nations or something like that, they might be able to flourish even more. So I think they must play a big role. Yeah.
That is very
public sectors go corrupted, and the decision-making processes and time. I mean, it takes so long, and it's too complicated. You cannot keep up with the pace of AI change.
Yeah, that is very interesting and indeed thought-provoking. Dr. Venn, I'm coming to you, and also Lauren. How do you measure who benefits versus who is merely represented? How do you measure that? How can you tell who is benefiting and who is just merely represented? Dr. Venn.
Because the benefit is that entire society and world, but it's lies that the benefit how effectively we are using for what reason we are using this technology. For example, if you look at some countries have been producing so many graduates, but the produced graduates are not utilized within the country. Those graduates educated is migrating to some country, right?
Yeah.
Why today entire society and world is coming imbalance? Because the governments has to encourage local manpower to be educated to the level of technology expertise, so that we can minimize the migration. But today what is happening in some countries, 100% the migration. The moment they have been passed out, they want to land somewhere. That needs to have a balance. The technology has to be implemented. Every country has to invest their resources to develop their community and young generation to involve in the technology, not from hiring from other countries too much, because that is a society imbalance.
All right, I hear you. Lauren, what is your take? What have you seen from where you're from? What is your suggestion?
Yeah, I think to measure benefits versus just being represented, we need to measure metrics that go beyond participation, like the equity of outcome. So, did this initiative create substantial jobs, education, and community, or just community ownership? If inclusion doesn't improve someone's real world circumstances, it's at that point it's just performance, not progress.
That was well said and briefly. If it doesn't change any life or it doesn't impact that was just a performance. I like that. Sean, I also want to come to you on this and also just pass you on the next question. In a globalized economy, who carries the heaviest burden of progress? Is it the government? Is it people? Is it innovators like yourselves? Is it educators? Who carries the burden for progress? Sean, share what is in your mind.
Man, that's a long-winded question.
Yeah.
It can kind of go in a lot of directions. I like that. This is almost like that could be like an hour discussion just on this. I mean, at the end of the day, we pay taxes, at least in the US. And so those taxes should go to people that are hopefully smarter than each of us as an individual to create policies that make our government or our space better. And that should go across, the world with different policies and whatnot. I feel like, there's a lot of, I wouldn't say negative, but there's like this darkness in this discussion. And I also want to believe that technology can bring light and it can bring opportunity that typically is not, doesn't exist globally. And I believe AI and Ian, this might be a tough take, or you might actually agree, but I really believe that if we can all have equal education, we all can actually raise up together, and it'll be on the merits of our hard work, on the efforts that we put towards there and our interest in those education and whatever area that we want to be an expert in, and really have an equality as far as competing against other people, no matter what your race is or where you're born or how much money you have. So imagine if you can have a Harvard level education at the cost of ChatGPT or something like that. I mean, could you imagine the ability? Because at the end of the day, it was always the rich and famous that had access to the best professors, the best education, the best ability to get connected to family connections or whatever that looks like. And I believe if we all had an equal education, or the ability to strive for an equal education at the cost of next to nothing, that we will be judged on the merits of our character, our values, and our principles, versus how lucky we are and where we're born on this planet. And so I believe that at the end of the day, I'm hoping technology will raise the barrier and really open up the ability for us to compete naturally and really have a voice at every level. And I think that's really going to be an important step for all of us.
Yes, and I can see the burden. You carry the burden of seeing the world educated equally. Thank you for beautifully highlighting that. Rui, do you have a suggestion to that? Who carries the burden?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, right now it's been mostly on the tech developers, being big tech or individual people like us. There's always, I think there's always been, progress has been made, and I like, there's the garage myth, which is fantastic, but it's a myth. People didn't build things in garages; they built in nice garages with, parents that had money to support them.
Yes.
But I do believe that, and I think here is, again, education. If we have access to education, we will have much more innovation and much more free and distributed innovation, because all of us are have a parity. So I completely agree with Sean and, the access to education. But who has the heaviest burden? I don't know.
Yes.
It's a mix now.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Vera. Who carries the biggest burden as we close off? Because I see our time is as quick as it comes, as quick as it goes. But Professor, close us off. Who carries the biggest burden here?
It's again a very big evolving challenges, and priorities are there. So as digital technology is becoming increasingly central to everyday work, the definition of inclusion must adopt to emerging trends such as AI, VR, and remote work, while addressing persistent disparities in connectivity and literacy. So, in a nutshell, what I would say that the digital era is making sure no one is left behind as technology progresses, empowering everyone to thrive in a constantly evolving digital landscape. So, everybody is responsible equally for the development. That's what, in a nutshell, I can say so.
Yes, everyone is equally responsible. I would go with that. I would run away with that. I have 1 extra minute. Perhaps I can close it with you, Ian. What is your takeaway briefly?
So, obviously, uneducated people, they would carry the heaviest burden of progress, just because they are uneducated. So that is the most important question here. And so at the same time, I think the language is very important.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say that, but English is the world language, but in fact, it is the world language at the moment. So knowing how to speak English is a really big deal nowadays. And
Yes.
and knowing certain language means they understand the culture and the globalized atmosphere, and then the trading atmosphere, and then the trend and culture. And I think I think one single language is necessary for humanity to minimize the conflict as well. Right? So
Yeah.
I think so language learning it's all about education as well. So uneducated people will definitely carry out the heaviest burden of progress for sure.
All right. Okay. So if you're watching us, please tell us who you think carries the biggest burden. But each and every of your expression was valued. We learned from you, and thank you so much for joining us. Please, our audience, follow the speakers, follow their LinkedIn. They're just on our website, and perhaps you can reach out to someone who you think you can collaborate with. And that is it from us on this panel. Our Gather Boswell. Over to you, GatherVerse team. Thank you so much.
Hello, so good morning or good afternoon on where you're joining from. I'm Vascone. I'm a political economist and blog founder. I have been speaking here at GatherVerse since a year and a half, more or less. And this time I have the pleasure to host this fireside chat alongside Andrea Orlandini from the National Council of Research in Italy. He's focusing on AI, and the topic of this chat will be AI and youth, a tool or a threat. So I will leave the floor to Andrea for a moment to introduce himself and his researches. I would also advise you to look at his profile online. It's really interesting what he's studying. So please, Andrea.
Thanks, Elena, and thanks everybody for attending this event. I'm a researcher in artificial intelligence, as mentioned. I'm also involved in the National AI Association in Italy. I'm the coordinator of the scientific board. And since more than 20 years, I'm involved in many research projects leveraging AI technology to produce a research impact, but also have some benefits for the society, in particular in assistance for elderly people.
This is really interesting, and I think that what I like to focus on when I look at our country, which is Italy, compared to other countries, the US, but also in Europe, is how AI can impact different parts of the population in terms of age, and also different generations, given that we have such an older population in Italy. So I want to start off by asking, do you think that AI is more a threat or a tool? And especially, do you think young people perceive it more as a tool or a threat?
Let's say that AI is both, can be considered both a threat and a useful tool, because the point is in how we use it. It can be a useful tool if we deploy it on good applications that are actually having an impact in promoting and increasing the quality of our life. It may be also a risk, a threat, because given its complexity, because technology in AI is usually very complex and difficult to understand. So it may be a threat, in particular when it is used with a fraudulent objective. So in some cases, it may be difficult to distinguish whether the goal of the AI application is a good goal or is a bad goal. For instance, the young people that are using the AI technology every day in their smartphones, they are using AI every day, every minute, basically, but they are not fully aware of all the risk that they have in interacting with this AI. So, for instance, my idea is that there is a need for having a good education in using AI in the good manner in order to avoid the threat and have all the benefits in using AI.
Yes, I think it's very interesting in general, even philosophically, the concept of experience, because of course, on one side, you're more aware of the threats, but on the other side, you are more flexible mentally to see all the different ways that a new tool can be used. So do you think that the lack perhaps of experience and also the lack of perceptions perhaps of negative consequences of the use of this technology is something that might skew the younger population towards a more positive approach towards AI?
Yes, definitely. The young generations, they are basically digital native. They are used to, since the very early ages, to interact with technology. Other people like me, we lived in the years in which there was no smartphone, no AI, so we can consider the differences between living with or without AI. The young people are receiving a lot of stimuli, stimuli to use more and more AI. Not always these stimuli are living with they're proposed with the good objective. So often there is, in some cases, the idea of getting the attention to sell something or to collect the attention to some particular topic. So if I said before, if we develop AI in an ethical manner to good objective, then also the young people that are more keen to get and to learn how to use it, then we can have a positive impact. Otherwise, we may be in trouble.
This is more of like a curiosity of mine. Do you think that making young people and getting young people to understand how to use it is more about like regulation, or it's more really about education?
I would say both. The aspects are relevant because regulation, of course, is necessary. In Europe, we have the first AI regulation, official regulation on AI, that is a comprehensive law that is trying to put some bounds in what is admitted and what is not admitted. This may be a problem for fostering innovation, but also it poses the attention of which are the bounds to consider. On the other side, the education is very important. And on this side, we are not very active in proposing to the young people, the young generations in particular, some education programs that are very effective in increasing the awareness in the AI technology and how to use it in a safe way. So I would, if I have to put some priority, I would highlight before the need of education tools to improve the awareness and make an instruction on how to use AI in a safe manner, and then also improve the regulation.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And I also think sometimes it's a bit difficult when it comes to education, because you have this, and this is my perception, this idea of maybe like older people being the teachers of something that they didn't experience firsthand when they were growing up, perhaps. So maybe they don't know. Now I'm thinking more of AI and social media. they don't know certain specifically like toxic or negative trends in social media that teenagers know, for example. And if younger people tell them about that, there is always this feeling of like, I am older, so I'm supposed to teach you. So it really becomes complicated to structure this dialogue between generations, because I think education is something that would have to go both ways in this case. And I wanted to jump to this next question, which is about the fragmentation in society, because I lived in Germany for a while, and in German there is this theory that is called Gestalt, which is about the fact that society, that the whole is more than the sum of its parts. So in my idea, I always think of a society as being more than the sum of individuals, but sometimes I really see in modern society that people are really living in their own bubble, and so we don't have anymore this idea of we speak about consciousness a lot with AI, but we don't have like a general consciousness. So do you think that with AI becoming more and more present, especially in the media, with people having a more altered reality of their own perspective, we will get to a point where society will be hyper fragmented?
Well, this is a good question. Let's say that AI is opening the possibility to have a new way of interacting, and also creating also some virtual worlds, or in general augmenting the world in which we live. And this is something, again, that according to the objective could be a positive fact, because if these, for instance, if you think about Facebook, it was initially considered a very good tool to socialize, to have social interaction, positive social interactions, while at a certain point it happens to be something that is more creating this sort of bubbles, to have people that talk only with other people that agree on everything, and so there is no confrontation, no discussion. Even worse if you see it in the point that people can be closed alone in his own bubble and not interacting with the reality, but just with the virtual worlds or the virtual avatars that you may also create following your preferences and your desires. So I see AI as an opportunity to increase the possibility of having social interaction and having good and positive social interactions. We need to be more aware of the risk to avoid the bad environments or the bad stimuli and focus only on the positive ones.
Yeah. I totally agree, and I really think that this could be something where it's like a tipping point in our society, where we see that things are becoming so fragmented that we decided to maybe take a step back and live more in the real world, because we realize how different virtual worlds are. I was also looking in the comments, and there is a person that was saying inclusion should move from presence to power, which I also think is like a very good quote, because maybe perhaps people seeing how AI develops, they will realize that they actually are in power in this process, with AI being just a tool for them, right?
Yeah, indeed, AI technology, digital technology in general, could be a tool to provide also people with disabilities or people with difficulties in interacting with the technologies to live as there were no problems. So it's a tool to include everybody, to put everybody on the same line and make everybody capable of interacting and live their life in an autonomous way, independently, without any problem of needs. So can be really a tool that can provide a good impact, and in general can also improve the way in which we interact with the other people, with the city, with the working environments, with any public environment. So this is absolutely an important point.
Do you see in Italy like very big barriers in the sense that perhaps, I don't know, people over 65 that in Italy are a big part of the population not really understanding AI at some point because it becomes too complicated, and so this becoming like a really big divide in society?
Well, let's say, in my opinion, I have a rather long experience in interacting with older adults using technologies. They are actually interested in using them because they understand that there is an opportunity to have a good impact on their lives, but they are aware also of the risk. They are afraid of the possible negative use of AI tools. So the idea is they don't fully trust AI technology and digital technology, and so there is the need again to make also education not only for the young generations but maybe for every kind of a generation.
Yes, for sure. I really think that there can be a lot of possible aspects to it, especially when it comes to health. So what would be like an advice you would give to policymakers in Italy, in Europe, and globally, if you could, in a few words?
In a very few words, there should be a big effort in increasing the awareness of the population on the good aspects and the risk in using AI. So, on my opinion, we should invest more in the school in the first step, and then in general in the general public in order to improve the awareness about the potentials of AI. This is absolutely paramount important.
Yeah, so to raise the next generation of, let's say, empowered humans empowered by AI. This is a wonderful advice, I would say. And I think also a very fitting advice for a summit that's called Tech for Humanity. So I think we're also very much on theme for today. It was a pleasure to speak with you today, Andrea. Very, very nice conversation. I hope also for the people that are following. I was really reading very positive comments. So I think it was not just interesting for us, but also for the others, hopefully. So thanks a lot. And perhaps we will have other times to discuss other arguments, other topics. And I hope everybody will keep following this summit.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
That's it. GatherVerse Europe Tech for Humanity Summit. You know, I'm looking at my notes today, and in Swahili, after a very impactful lesson or a summit, you always get to ask yourself, umejifunza nini? That means, what have you learned today? What was your key takeaway? Which speaker stood up for you? Who gave you that epiphany moment? Who gave you an idea? What did you learn? What did you gain from today? Europe has spoken, and next week we're coming to you GatherVerse South America Tech for Humanity Summit. We're getting prepared for that. But as for now, I encourage you, share what you learned today. Share with a loved one. Share with your mentee. Share with your colleagues. Share with your family members. Share with someone from another continent who couldn't make it here. Share it on your blogs. Share it on your LinkedIn, right? And that is all we ask from you. GatherVerse is here to hear from you, to hear your expressions. We're here to see you. As long as you have something to say to the world concerning humanity at the intersection of emerging technologies, as long as you have something to say, GatherVerse will always be here to listen. And we do it for free. We do not charge anyone. It's absolutely free. We only require your internet connection. And for those who doesn't have an internet connection, that is why we're here. We talk about these things. We discuss the way forward. We come up with solutions. We have policymakers. We have researchers. We have educators. We have entrepreneurs. We have all kinds of people who tune in and they're looking and they're listening and they're asking themselves, what next step can I take? We appreciate that. Now, for those who are watching on all our various streaming platforms, that is GatherVerse.live, our LinkedIn, our Facebook, our Instagram, and for all of you who shared in your social media pages, we thank you. Even if you just watched for that 1 minute that you can never get back, we appreciate it. If you stayed with us until the end of this summit, thank you so much. We couldn't appreciate more for that precious time that you can never get back. But we hopefully we hopefully think that you gained a lot from it. Thank you so much. And I would say it in Swahili because I believe it even comes out more heartfelt in Swahili. Asanteni sana. We have more summits coming up. After GatherVerse South America Tech for Humanity Summit, we have Men's Health coming up. We have Book Summit coming up. We have Food Summit coming up. We have Money Summit coming up. And we always talk about things that you use daily that intersect with our daily lives and emerging technologies. And coming next year, we have our flyer, big banger event that is Superhero Engine. She Summit 2026 January is coming up, and we're already receiving hundreds and hundreds of applications, and a lot of people are buying their tickets. They're not buying, they're booking their tickets on our Ticket Tailor platform. Of course, you can see it on our website, gatherverse.org. We want to appreciate Superhero Engine. Please keep sharing that event because it's going to be a banger. We're going to share what is the next phase of humanity and what is the role of women. And we want to appreciate every single woman who is driving humanity forward. So I'm looking forward to She Summit. I'm going to be with you. We're getting prepared for it. We're getting it many speakers as we can. Please keep sharing it. And then we have our annual GatherVerse Summit coming up around February. Then we have our AI Summit, and we have more events coming soon, and we will be announcing them. So subscribe to our newsletter, check out all our social media pages, gatherverse.org, and you'll get to know what is cooking next. All right. So I also want to appreciate the GatherVerse team. Thank you for making this happen. We couldn't have been here without your efforts and your input. We see you. And another big shout out to our founder, Christopher Lafayette. Thank you for making this happen. We appreciate your humility and we appreciate the efforts that you put in to make sure humanity is driven forward. Thank you so much. And with that said, I'm done. I want to say our gather was well. Harry, bye.
Well, there is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy, and God